RotoGrinders! Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blenderhead, Blender HD, if you want to follow me there on Twitter. And this is the show where we were a little late this morning, sorry. This is the show where we'll talk a little bit about yesterday's slate, right? Obviously, for my tone of voice, didn't do very well yesterday, but we'll look through results, DB, and then we'll take a look at the early slate today. Right, whenever there's like an early slate and we could build lineups together, and I could show what my process. That's what I do. So I don't know if are we gonna have all the lineups today for the we're probably not. Okay, we have Twins Reds. We got a 2:00. We got probably not the late, right? The 3:37 Padres Athletics game. No, probably won't have those lineups, but whatever. Are we playing bats in those games? Maybe not. Who knows? We'll take a look. And I see you guys in the YouTube chat. Feel free to type in, chat away, ask your questions. I see you guys. I see what? It's scrolling back. Suki Singh, Edward Brown, Daniel Hutchings, Card Fan, Brian Taylor, Andrew Garcia, Shane Newman, Jerome Lewis, Michael Dompier, Hog Lawrence, Matt Coach. I see you guys in there. So hit that thumbs up button. Give me those thummy thumbs. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when you go live. So yesterday, it always whenever the chalk. Well, I mean, Wheeler didn't really. I mean, you could have still won with Wheeler, right? 17 points, but like the Yankees stack. I don't know. Did the Yankee stacks really get there? I mean, you got Stanton, Judge. I mean, like just the one-off bats got there. So yeah, so you were pretty good. LeMahieu. I mean, yeah, I guess Sanchez got 12 points, but I mean, he probably wasn't in the winning lineup. So you have the Yankees, you have the Braves, who were much more owned than I thought they were going to be. I played a bunch of the A's. I played a bunch of the Braves. I played a healthy amount of the Yankees also, but I was playing more as secondaries, right? Being it's a 15-game slate, why am I playing stacks that are 15% owned, 15 to 20% owned? I thought the Braves would be a little bit less. Turns out they were chalky too. Well, Albies 15, Riley 14, Dansby Swanson 13. Freddie Freeman was only 5 though, right? Because people like, oh, lefty can't do that. Why? It's John Lester, for crying out loud. But Lester only had one bad inning, and the Braves didn't do anything else past that, pretty much, right? Soler 13% owned, right? And then I had some of the Red Sox, and they failed. I didn't have as much of the Giants, but really like the pitching plus the I should have more Luis Gil. I didn't have enough of him. Some people didn't have any. Like I looked across the board, like outside of what Dude of Life over here, like not that much Luis Gil. I mean, because you're taking a chance. I mean, this is a guy that was not very good in the minor leagues, but just only strikeouts and walks. Like it's just like no control. But he actually pitched very well. But the Orioles are nothing to, they're not very good anyway. But if you want to take a shot at him at 4K, I thought that was fine. Just that I limited him. If the bat had him as the top point per dollar projected pitcher, not raw points, but point per dollar wise. So I limited him, thinking that I thought number one he'd be more owned than 7%, and I thought that 4K pitcher. I mean, how many lineups am I gonna take a shot on this? So I mean, I played like Jordan Lyles in some lineups. Instead, I played Corbin, who actually did very well. He was only 1% owned, 19 points. I mean, he could have done a little bit better than that. But we had Giant Squid had a bunch of him, but that's about it, right? Jordan Lyles, right? Some people, right? Brick 12%, the Colts they're 17, Giant Squid 11. Okay, right. I decide whether or not I was going to play Jose Suarez, who actually didn't do that bad either, 18 points. Some people had the cheap pitchers. A lot of people went with Luis Patino. I had none of them. I was actually considering playing bats against him. That would be over-owned, and he was 15.9%. But still, people had Giant Squid didn't. Due to Life, not much. The Colts, not much. Nerdy Tenor, not much. Right? But then you have Neil Corfield and Neil. JBC had a bunch, right? Dylan Cease. I mean, you needed him pretty much, right? 37.7. He had what, 11, 12 strikeouts or something? I had too much Manaea. I thought Manaea would be lower owned than this. I was way off on my ownership yesterday. The Braves were much more owned than I thought they would be, and Manaea was much more owned than I thought. Manaea would be single digit owned, right? That's why I played a ton of them. I played like Manaea in like 40% of my lineups. Now, like 19% isn't like highly owned. But it's a 15-game slate. I knew Wheeler would be owned. I just thought it would be Wheeler, and then Cease, and then maybe some more Bueller, more Taijuan Walker. Well, Taijuan Walker would be like 22% owned. I thought Ryu would be 20% owned. I thought Fried would be a little bit more. I thought Maeda would be like 10% owned. So that would take all that ownership away from Manaea. But nope, I was wrong. And then Manaea didn't even pitch well, so it didn't even matter, right? So it looked like, so over here, like paid like not many had like what Doodle Giant Squid at 34%, but most across the board had less of Manaea. And I ended up with more of them. And I ended up with less Cease. I had about this the field weight of Cease. I still have plenty of Cease, but not as much. Same for Molly. 9% owned. Most people were a little bit over on that. Just looking through here. This is what I do in the morning. Look through and see where did I. The whole point of looking through this is seeing now that we have all the perfect information. I'm not talking about what happened necessarily in the games. Is that would you have made the same decisions? And I wouldn't. If I knew the Braves were going to be much higher owned than I thought they would be, I would have had less of them. If I knew Manaea was going to be much higher than I thought he was going to be, I would have had less Manaea and probably more Cease, probably more Ryu, probably more Taijuan Walker also. But if I knew he was going to be 11% and not like 22, 25%, that wouldn't have worked out, but it would have changed my decision. I would have had way more Luis Gil if I knew he was 7%. And I knew he wasn't going to be like highly. I thought he would be like 10 to 12. That's what I'm looking at. Like I knew like Lyles would be like 3 or 5%. Probably even less. I thought he would be maybe 2 or 3%. I knew that. I looked a couple of Adrian Hauser lineups. Yeah, but I knew that it'd be 3%. Right. It's not going to change that much of my decision. It's what things came up that would have changed it. And how do I rectify that? Looking at the YouTube chat. Julio Canto, my new favorite show. Thanks for the great insight. You're welcome. Hit the thumbs up button. Brian Taylor asks, where does your ownership basis come from? Well, here at RotoGrinders, we have ownership projections. Doesn't mean you have to trust them completely. I change stuff. It'll give you a nice base. Sometimes it makes sense, right? Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes you look and you go, that's what I said. It's like if Manaea was what 9,400, Wheeler was 9,700. Cease was like 80 something, high 8, and Taijuan Walker was 8,500. Ryu was in the 8,000s. Bueller was overpriced at 10,9. Same for Molly at 10K. It's like, I don't know about that. So I just thought that the price difference between Wheeler, I just didn't think there would be as many Wheeler Manaea lineups. And I thought Wheeler would end up probably maybe a little bit more than 43%. So I thought that would just plummet the Manaea ownership. I think we projected him to be way lower owned than 19. I didn't think he would be like 2-3%, but I thought he would be like 6 to 8, somewhere around there. And if you compare 6 to 8 for Manaea and like 44 to 48 for Wheeler, then it's like, why not play Manaea? That what 6 to 1 difference in ownership. It's just they're not going to be Manaea's going to beat out Wheeler more often than that. So play those lineups and don't play as many Wheeler Manaea lineups. So that's what I was going into it with. Then stack wise, the chalk got there. I mean, all the Rockies, all the team totals that had high team totals, they got there, right? You just went by team totals. You did well yesterday. The Yankees, the Rockies. The Braves didn't even get. I mean, really, the Braves didn't get there as a stack. Jorge Soler got there. Freddie Freeman got there, but that's about it. Didn't get there as a stack. The Rockies got there as a stack. I mean, bits of the Blue Jays. No, Blue Jays are pretty much three guys, right? Springer, Teoscar. Like a three-man would have gotten there. Same for Milwaukee. Like I had a bunch of the Brewers. That whole stack, that stack didn't get there. Sure, Adames and Avi got there. Not much else. Well, I guess Gleyber Torres got there for the Yankees. He had 14. Just looking through. But like, there was no like outlier. There was no one that you needed, right? Sam Hilliard, right? Did you need him? 29 points. Elias Diaz, right? You pretty much needed like the Rockies plus Yankees was, I think, the winning lineup yesterday, right? Rockies plus Yankees. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, right. 5-man Rockies, 3-man Yankees. Yeah, the two highest team totals on the slate. And then you get different a pitcher, right? You go Ryu and McCullers. And you win with that. McCullers against the Giants, against the Dodgers. But if you take a look at this Colorado stack, it's not as high. It's not because it doesn't have the top of the order, right? It doesn't have Blackman. It doesn't have Crone in it, right? It has LeMahieu instead. And then you're playing Sam Hilliard at the bottom of the order and Elias Diaz. So you're playing the 7 and the 8 hitter, right? So that's why it's a little bit, it's not as high owned of a Rocky stack. And then you play a Lance McCullers instead of a Wheeler, instead of, Mania at the top at 3% on, which is, I get it. In this type of lineup, it makes sense. If you're going to play the two of the, chalkiest teams on the slate, well, you're going to have to find a place to get different. You're not playing Wheeler, you're not playing Gill, you're not playing Mania, you're not playing even Cease. Like Cease isn't even in this lineup. JBC won. Like what was the next pro shares? See, this is Wheeler Cease. But still, Colorado, New York. I mean, here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. And Odor instead. That's what killed this guy. Not having Rogers instead and moving McMahon, there was a way to do this. Let's see what's this lineup. It's very, similar with a Kyle Tucker one off. So this is a 4, 3, 5, 2, 1. TJ's best lineup. Colorado with the Colorado. Oh, because Ohtani always gets screwed up in our stuff. So you got Ohtani in there plus so it's a 5X with Toro and Adames. Okay. Kikuchi and Cease with a Colorado 5-man. Colorado 1, 2, 3, a 5-man. 5, 2, 1. Right. Moncada, Vaughn, and Ohtani. Pretty much that Colorado, right? Colorado, like, I'm looking at my cheat sheet on the highest projected ceilings on the slate. The top two, the Yankees and the Rockies. So like there you go. But when that happens, it's just I'm not going to win. Like those are the nights that those are the slates I just don't win. I just don't win those. I'm sorry. The two highest owned, the two highest projected owned, highest team total teams on a 15-game slate. Win, right? It's just not going to happen. You move on to tomorrow. I don't think I'll ever win those slates. So I'm just not going to have. I'm not going to have many, if any, of those types of lineups. I'm just not going to have these lineups. I could have had a 5 if I played 5X. I was playing 5-3 mostly yesterday. So the Elias Diaz, like at 3%, like this type of build with the Rockies. Just that it's, not playing. Well, you could have played Story, Blackman, that middle of the order, the top of the order, right? It's like the top 3 guys went like 0 for 12 or something. And everyone else, 3 down, was great on the Rockies, right? Isn't that what happened yesterday? Anthony Marcus said, I went with nothing but one-offs across 20 lineups and had a decent night. Only did it because I have been terrible at stacking. Well, you're going to be losing money. You might as well just burn that money. You did it to what? Well, you had a decent night. Okay, then keep on doing that, and come to me at the end after 100 slates. Let's see if you're not broke by then. Brian Taylor, as a single entry player, what would you use to help you decide which stack you're going to use? I struggle as a Jays fan as they are often in a good spot. As I say on every show, I'm looking to play the highest EV stack possible. The stack that has a high probability of winning, that is under-owned. That's the key. The key is not the high probability. The key is the under-owned. And we'll take a look at this afternoon. This the early slate. Do we even have ownership of this? Let's see. Let's see if we even have ownership. Is it the correct ownership? I don't think so. Is Brandon Logan only going to be 0.25%? This doesn't look right for the early slate. No one could be this low owned. I mean, it's only a 4-game slate. Everyone's low owned on the 4-game slate. No, this can't be right. No, how is that possible? The highest owned player is 8% on a 4-game slate. No, this. So we're not going by this ownership. But like on yesterday's slate, I mean, I show this all the time. What was yesterday? August 3rd. Like, this isn't complicated. Like, it's not complicated as Monday. Whatever. Who cares? Let's just take a look at look at whatever this is. Monday, August 3rd. That doesn't make sense. Oh, this is from a year ago. That's why. Monday, August 3rd. Tuesday. What Tuesday, August 3rd? Tuesday, August 3rd. Is this going to do? Okay, here we go. So here's the slate IQ for yesterday's slate. Right? I believe this is from yesterday. Okay, this is based on the plate IQ projections. Here, I'll show you, based on the simulations that RotoGrinders does, the projected ownership and leverage for 4 to 5 hitter stacks based on results of the 25 most similar slates. Use this chart to visualize team ownership and expected leverage. Apply your own knowledge, make educated assessments on which team could provide an advantage in tournaments. Right? And this obviously, if the ownership and the projections are off, this could be different. You could run this, you could build a program or something to run this yourself with different projections you could do, but just the concept. Just the concept. It's not complicated. The tools are out there. It's not complicated. The Yankees are going to be, based on this simulation, the highest chance of being the winning team, the winning stack, the Yankees, 8.4%. They're going to be owned at 8.5%. So they're about efficiently owned. Okay? They're about the same chances to win of what they'll be owned. The Angels, according to this yesterday, was 7.9%. Colorado was 3.3%. But they were going to be owned at 4.6%, which means they were going to be over-owned. In general, not the whole lineup, right? Like I said, if you didn't play the top of the order, and you lost ownership, this takes into account, this is just the averages. But still, this doesn't mean what's going to happen. You need if you're going to play DFS well, you have to stop predicting what's going to happen. Okay? It sounds stupid, but that's actually what you're doing. If you ask me what am I going to do on this early 4-game slate, what do you think is going to happen? Once you're trying to think what's going to happen, you're going to lose at DFS. Your only goal is to put a probability on what could happen, and then see if the market is efficient based on that probability. So that's what this chart shows. Like, I played a bunch of Minnesota yesterday. Now, this chart is based on the plate IQ projections and not the bat projections. So you have to adjust this a little if you're using a different projection set. But here, look at Minnesota. They had a 3.1% chance of winning based on slate IQ. But we're going to be owned at 1.6, like significantly less than that, which gives you a ton of leverage. They're significantly under-owned based on slate IQ, which means it's more valuable to play them. So I played them. There you go. Tell me what's so complicated about this, right? Right. I take a look at the Cubs, right? Oh, they're about efficiently owned, right? They're not that different, right? Boston, a little bit more, right? But do I want to play Washington? Washington, Miami, Houston? Houston, 0.1% chance of winning. Like, no. Let's look down here. Maybe I don't mind some Cardinals, right? They only have a 0.6% chance of winning, but they have a little bit of leverage down here, right? Baltimore, right? Here you go. Arizona. I played a bunch of Arizona yesterday. Arizona, 1.8 chance of being the winning stack. They're going to be owned at 0.9%. So they're significantly under-owned, according to Slate IQ. So you play them. Do I play them in 8 million lineups? No. That's all a matter of diversification. But if you're playing single entry, like if you played Arizona, if you wanted to play an Arizona 5-man in single entry, well, the rest of your lineup just play the Yankees with them, play the Wheeler, play the chalk. Because look how much they're barely going to be owned in single entry, especially, right? You're gonna play Minnesota, same thing. Once you play a Minnesota 5-man in like the 121 or whatever single entry contest you're in, you're good. Play the chalk everywhere else. Or you could do the opposite. You could say, I'm going to play the Yankees 5-man, which is going to be chalk, but now you're going to have to now you're 3-man. Now did the other players in your lineup, the pitchers, you're not going to play Wheeler in that lineup, right? You're already playing you're playing the highest owned team on the slate. Yeah, they're efficiently owned, but they're still going to be the highest owned team. Where are you going to be different, right? So it's going to have to be different at pitcher, different at the one-offs, different as a 3-man, whatever you want. So you have to decide which one of those things you're going to do. When it comes to single entry, you're playing one lineup type of thing. I'm more likely to get different at the stack. Now it doesn't mean I'm going completely off the board, but I mean it's not going to be a chalk team. And I don't even know. Like looking at the early slate, I don't even know what the ownership's going to be. Are we ever going to get? Are we going to get owned? We're not going to get. Who's going to? We could run these. Okay, let's see. Let me run this. Okay, so we have the bat projections are updated. We just don't have the ownership is not updated. So he's like, well, how are we going to judge based on whatever? So what I'm going to do? We got stuff changed. We pushed a new update to Slate to lineup HQ. I'll maybe go over that on Friday. We got some custom rules. Yeah, we'll go over this on Friday. Maybe not today. Okay, so I'm just going to run lineups. I'm just thrown off by been testing this. So I'm going to run 300 lineups with maybe 2 unique players. I'm going to have the hitter max exposure at 50 and the pitcher at 50 just to get a sense. Just so it gives me at least somewhat different lineups. So build 300. So I'm gonna build 300, and Eli's gonna put the coming back soon, because this will take probably 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll be back, and we'll see what potential ownership could possibly be. So here we go. Okay, so I ran 300 lineups. I put in just 5-man, 4-man stack, just whatever, 2 unit. I mean, just bare basic stuff. Now, obviously, I'm using the bat projection, so that's not what everyone is going to be using, but it's going to be at least directionally probably similar to what other people are looking at, and because we don't have like direct like ownership, like I'm not getting like a number here, projected wise. Okay, so what you can do is just run 300 lineups, like similar types of lineups that you would see in the contest. So 5-man stacks, 4-man stacks with like one-offs or whatever, because people still make those types of lineups. And just see what comes up more, right? So we see here, like we took a look at the stack summary. A lot of Cincinnati, then Milwaukee, then Minnesota, then San Diego, then Seattle. So a lot of Cincinnati. Who's pitching against, let's see what's going on. Because I didn't even look at the slate. So a lot of Cincinnati. Why would it be against Charlie Barnes? Who the hell is Charlie Barnes? I thought yesterday it was supposed to be Griffin Jackson. Is this a Twins bullpen game? It may be something like that. Charlie Barnes. Who the hell is Charlie? I don't even know who Charlie Barnes is. He's in the player 7 point. Yeah, yes. They have the highest team. Right. Okay, look, the Reds have almost a six implied team total. So it makes sense that the Reds will be one of the highest owned teams on the slate. But then we take a look. Let's go through. Let's look at the pitcher. So we have the Reds as the chalk. Switch over here. Let's Logan Gilbert. So we get a lot of Gilbert, Peralta, Castillo. Yeah, this makes sense. Gilbert, Peralta, Castillo. But Peralta is expensive. So we just see lineups like this. Right, we're looking. I mean, we don't have to care about the ownership number because the ownership is wrong, right? It's these are blanks and from yesterday or whatever. So here, even Daniel Hutchings, Nerdy Tenor in chat is going through. Right, I have computed a very rough estimate of efficient ownership using my Sims. Right, so he's making his own ownership. This is based on a 300-man contest on DK using the bat projections. Okay, so 300 minutes, so not even a large field. 5-man stack frequencies are Cincinnati 29%, Milwaukee 15%, Minnesota 9%, Oakland 7%, Pittsburgh 5%, San Diego 12%, Seattle 8%, Tampa Bay 13%. Okay, but that goes along. If we take a look, I just ran it just with very bare basic whatever. We look at the stack summary. It's like, look, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, like the top two, right? Minnesota is up there. San Diego 12%. So basically, Tampa Bay projects a little bit worse. I mean, and just think about, I mean, I'm trying to make, 300 lineups and 50% just caps. Obviously, if I put it down to like 40 or something, maybe I'll start getting some Tampa Bay stacks. But this just gives us a sense of what's going to be chalky, what's not going to be chalky. Okay? Because then you have to determine what you're going to do. We're going to make 3 lineups today. Okay? I'm playing 3 lineups for this early slate. Okay? And they're going in smaller field. I'm playing the 121. I'm playing the 66 and the 44, which are small. I mean, a couple of hundred, right? The 44 is only 1,000 a first or whatever. So I'm also playing these lineups going to be in the 18, so just in case it happens or whatever type of thing. But these are the lineups that I'm going to play. So I'm building 3 lineups based on obviously I'll need to change if lineups change. But taking a look, it seems like Cincinnati is by far the chalk. By far. So then Milwaukee. Okay, facing Steven Brault. Yeah, that makes sense. They have a 5.2 implied team total. Okay, this makes sense. Gilbert is going to be chalky pitcher, which means the direct leverage path would be to play the Rays. So taking a look at the Rays lineup. They have a 4.42 implied total, so not horrible. So Brandon Lowe, I mean, they're expensive. How are you going to be able to fit them in? Well, are you going to play Charlie Barnes? Maybe not. You're going to play Freddie Peralta? Maybe not. Maybe you can play Montes. Maybe play Montes against the Padres. So you could play a Montes Gilbert lineup, not play Castillo, and you could play the Twins against Castillo. Right? That could be a path. I mean, on a 4-game slate, I don't think in terms of like, let me build some lineups and seeing what the projected ownership versus I just think completely tactically. Like if you wanted to, you could if you played the Rays, you can play the Reds with them in smaller. Yeah. I mean, you could do that, right? If you played the Rays against Chalk Gilbert, assuming Gilbert is going to be chalky. Let's see what I mean, the Reds are expensive. So where you have Farmer, you'd play Farmer instead of Franco to lose some money there. You're probably going to still play Stevenson. Suarez, because you have Wendell at third base here, but Suarez is cheaper. So you can make Reds lineups against Gilbert. But let's say you played Gilbert. So this is the other end. If you played Gilbert, then who would you want to attack? Freddie Peralta with the Pirates? Maybe not. Maybe you attack against Castillo. Right, so you play Gilbert and the Twins. Because that's what I would look to do. Like I take a look at who the chalk pitchers are going to be, and it's going to be Peralta, Castillo, Gilbert. Maybe, and then I mean there'll be ownership like Josh Fleming to get a little bit of ownership. Musgrove and Montes will get a little bit of ownership. I mean they'll still be there. But do I want to stack against Peralta? The problem with Peralta is I'm not sure what his pitch limit is going to be. He was pitching well last game, and like he came out after like 68 pitches, and he's 10K. Now, from a floor perspective, he's probably the best on the slate. I mean, up against the Pirates in that matchup, will he be overowned? I think I'm less inclined. I think I'm less inclined to play him based on our projections, based on the bat projections. Like, yeah, he has the best raw points, but it's not that dramatically different from Castillo. Is it even that dramatically different enough from Gilbert? And another, 4 points? I think I could survive that, right? From a point per dollar perspective, Fleming is the first. How long is he going to pitch? Right, he typically doesn't pitch that long. Right, it's 7 Ks in 5 innings with 8 hits. But some of these starts, I don't know. Play Seattle against him? I don't know. But that's what I'm looking to do tactically on a small slate. Where can I find leverage? Well, the easiest place to find leverage is stacking against pitchers that are going to be owned. I mean, you could do that on a 15-game slate, but you also have so many other options as well that you don't need to do that. Like if you wanted to play yesterday, the Nationals against Wheeler. Sure, yeah, you're stacking against the 43% owned pitcher. But that still may not win you. Like do you think the stack still needs to be like one of the top scoring teams on the entire slate? So not only do they have to beat Wheeler, they have to beat Wheeler and score 12 runs compared to 30 other teams on the slate. It's less likely to happen on a 4-game slate. That maybe the top scoring team only has 5 runs, and it just so happens to go against the chalk pitcher. And like, okay, I'm fine with that. So look at this. I want those types of combinations. So I don't want Gilbert. Do I want Gilbert and Castillo in the same lineup? No. I'm not going to play Peralta. Should I play should I look at some Pirate stacks? Maybe I should. Seems like the way to get different in pitchers to play one of the pitchers in the Padres Athletics game. That's what it seems like. Seems like playing anyone in this game would be better. So that's what I'm going to look at. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the lineup builder, to lineup HQ. Okay, build rules. Now I'm going to bring this down to 1, bring this down to whatever. I could type this in. 100. Hitter mastered. It doesn't matter. These don't matter. I don't want to get more. I want to get at least diverse lineups to look at least. So I'm gonna look into player groups. I don't want to play Gilbert. I don't want to play Gilbert and Castillo together. Okay. Obviously, it's not going to let me play Gilbert and Fleming together. It's not going to be too good. Oh no, I got to do that as well. Gilbert and Fleming, and Musgrove and Montes. Not to play both sides of a game. I don't think I. Yeah, you could, but I think I'm only going to end up playing one of these guys. Okay, so I'm going to go there. I'm already deciding not to play Barnes. I'm not going to play Peralta. Right. So that makes sense. I'm going to be playing 5 threes. I'm playing small field, so I just want to get two teams right. Okay. If I was playing larger field, I wouldn't play 5-3 on this slate. And let's see. We're going to be playing a bunch of Tampa Bay against the chalk. Let's see. 20, maybe 20. Take a look. Take a look at 10%. Remember, I'm just playing 3 lineups. These aren't going to be like all the lineups. Do I want to play Seattle against Fleming, Cincinnati? Like, I don't want to play Cincinnati. Like, I'm purposely avoiding the 5-man Cincinnati stack. So Tampa Bay and Minnesota are the leverage pieces. So let's take a look at more of those. And right, and I'm going to be playing Montes or Musgrove as, the other. Yeah, so let's take a look at that. Let's bump so it gets a little bit more lineups like that, a little bit more lineups like that. Right, so we're not playing any Cincinnati. Playing mostly, I just take a look at some Seattle, Pittsburgh, and Milwaukee, just so we could take a look, just see what's there. And secondary stack percentage, just put up at 20, or it doesn't even matter, because we're gonna get a lot of Cincinnati. Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of the same things anyway. Okay. Number of unique players 2. Do we even need to do 2? Let's do 2 and make more lineups than we need. Okay. Let's put 200. 2 unique players, 49. We could 1,000 on the table. I don't mind leaving that. Fine. And we'll build this. So look at what I did. I made the strategic decision beforehand. I didn't like go and go, oh, what could we do? And just like, look, I looked at what's gonna be chalk, like Cincinnati and Milwaukee as bats. And then Gilbert, Castillo, Peralta as pitchers. And like, how do I not build those? And the stuff that's chalk, it gives you more relative value to play the things that are negatively correlated to them. So when it comes to the pitchers, it would be playing the Twins, playing the Rays, playing the Pirates. And when it comes to batters, which you don't get as much relative value, it would be playing Charlie Barnes or Steven Brault, right? You're playing the pitchers against the high total teams. But truthfully, you don't get as much relative value from that. Oh, if the Cincinnati Reds fail, that means Charlie Barnes did well. Well, the stack failing could mean that they score 4 runs. The stack fails. You're right. The stack fails. But Charlie Barnes gives up 4 runs on 4 walks on 1 strikeout and ends up with 3 points. I mean, like, ends up with nothing. Right? So that doesn't mean fail. If they score 0, sure, Charlie Barnes probably had a good game. Right? They put up 0. But failure for a stack is like not scoring the most. But they can still have an okay game and just not end up in the winning lineup. So now I'm running lineups to see what these types of lineups look like. It's going to take a while. 5-3 different. Oh, okay, here we go. Now he couldn't even make that many lineups. So here we go. Something like Montes Castillo. You're still playing a 3-man. Okay, these are Cincinnati Milwaukee lineups. Okay, these are the chalky lineups. Okay. See, I probably wouldn't play Cincinnati Milwaukee together. But it's obviously they project the best, so we're going to get more of them. Right? We're going to have tons of them. Okay, here's Cincinnati, Tampa Bay. So let's take a look at this. Montes Castillo, Zunino, Choi. Like, this is a lineup that's playable. Right, 96.73. So I already did whatever I needed to do for ownership purposes. These numbers don't mean anything. So Tampa Bay, where's this one? Tampa Bay. We'll save that. See, I don't want these Cincinnati, Milwaukee lineups. I want something more like this. Fleming, Castillo. Well, you can't. I don't even think you could play this lineup. I think you need 3 teams in your. I don't think this is even an eligible lineup. Or is it? I don't know. I always thought you had to play like 3 different teams, like because even the pitchers are from these teams. Here's a Seattle. Here's 96.34 with Musgrove and Castillo. This is possible. Kellenic. The bottom over here. So here we go. Like these Gilbert, these Milwaukee, Cincinnati lineups are just like, I'm not going to play them. San Diego, Milwaukee. Is San Diego going to be owned enough? Yeah, they're going to be owned decently. I'm basically looking for, let's just do it by this. I could just go by the stack summary. Right, we're just not getting enough of, right, Tampa Bay, not getting much of Minnesota. Let's take a look at these Pittsburgh ones, though. Okay, because this is direct leverage on Freddie Peralta. So I don't mind these, right? 94, 93. Votto, Farmer, Winker. Castillo, Musgrove. It's Stallings, Cat. Do we have the Pittsburgh lineup in even? No. Gamel's leading off. We could take a look at that. Stevenson. And these are very similar lineups, but this one projects a little bit higher. So look at that. I need to get more Minnesota lineups. So that's what I'll do. Can we get more Minnesota lineups in here? I'm going to take down all of the. So we already got the Tampa Bay lineups. Let's get more Minnesota lineups in there. Run this again. Go back to, let's take a look at these Tampa Bay ones. Stack summary, Tampa Bay. Okay. So we already got this one up here. This is the top projected one. There's another top, right? This is Montes in it. Musgrove, Castillo. 95, 96. This one's higher. Okay. I mean, I could just take the highest one. Yeah, there you go. Here's a Cincinnati Rays, Montes Castillo lineup. So okay, I like. We'll save that one. Okay, now let's take a look at these Minnesota lineups. Should have made more. No, we're still getting more Milwaukee. Right, still barely making them. We could do something like this: Musgrove, Gilbert, Jeffers, Sano, Polanco, Rooker, Kepler. Is Donaldson going to be in the lineup today, or is he not? Or I guess not. Is Arias going to back cleanup? Is that how bad this lineup is? Yeah. Okay. This is the lineup. 1, 2, 3. Let's take a look. They're on the road, so I don't mind. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, with Escobar, Adames, and Avi Garcia. This isn't that bad. 49-1. It leaves money on the table. Save that. So we got our Tampa Bay. We got our Gilbert. This lineup has Gilbert in it. Then what else do we need? We want to play a Pittsburgh lineup? Or did we already save that? Yes. So basically we saved the three pitchers we're pitching against, right? So the highest 96, 95, 94. Okay, they aren't that bad. So like this lineup goes against Gilbert, even though I'm playing Gilbert in one lineup. See, this lineup goes against Castillo, and I'm playing Castillo in two other lineups, right? I'm still playing the Reds, but not as a primary stack. Votto, Farmer, Winker. I got India, Suarez, Farmer. So it's even two different Reds. We got Zunino, Kiermaier, Lowe, Meadows. It's all over the place. Joy. Whatever. So there we go. If I wanted to play the top, right, these are the top projected whatever lineups of the type that I want. 5-3 with Rays. I want a 5-man Rays against Chalk Gilbert, a chalkier Gilbert. I want a 5-man Minnesota against a chalkier Castillo, and I want a 5-man Pittsburgh against a chalkier Peralta. As long as one of the chalkier pitchers, because it's the easiest way. It's the easiest way to find leverage on a 4-game slate. Because like you could play the A's, like you could play the A's or the Padres. But I just think Musgrove and Montes are the pitchers that are going to be less owned comparison to Castillo, Peralta, and Gilbert. So I'd rather use them as my pitchers rather than get the bats that are going to be slightly less owned. Like Cincinnati's going to be the most owned, but like the difference between San Diego and Milwaukee is not dramatic. Or the A's and San Diego, like they'll be owned, they'll 8 to 10% as a stack or something like that. But I think the Rays, like we take a look even at Nerdy Tanner, right? Milwaukee 15, Minnesota 9, Oakland 7, Pittsburgh 5, Tampa Bay 13. See, I mean, the lowest would be Pittsburgh, Oakland, and Seattle. And I'm not even playing against them. But the problem with that, I don't think those pitchers are going to be owned. They're still going to be owned enough that I don't think I'm going to get leverage. I don't think Fleming is going to be owned enough. I don't think Musgrove is going to be owned enough. I mean, Brault is definitely not going to be owned. I want to win the slow scoring slates. I want 30+% of the lineups to be dead. and while my lineups go up. So that's why, like even though like Seattle, for instance, Seattle may be the lowest owned team on the slate, but Fleming isn't going to be that owned. If Fleming was 40% owned, yeah, then I have no problem playing the Mariners. So even though they're the lowest owned, they provide about as much relative value as the Twins do. Because Fleming is not his own, but Castillo's going to be owned. Going to be way owned. Gilbert's going to be way owned. So even though the Rays are going to be 10 to 12% owned, well, it's going to if Gilbert's going to be 40+% owned, every point that Gilbert gives up, every point that I get comes out of 40% of the lineups in the contest. And obviously, you can extend this to obviously larger slates. But it's I'm looking for this especially on smaller slates. When you have on a 15-game slate, we have so many options. You don't need to. The relative value differences between teams aren't going to be that dramatic because you could find low-owned teams. You don't need to stack against some. You need to find the extra relative value. Just that the chalk is going to be chalkier on a 4-game slate. How do you get different? Just understand that the probability, the winning team, the winning lineup is most probably going to be Cincinnati plus Milwaukee with Gilbert and Castillo. Like that's going to be the win. That's most likely to be the winning lineup. And you could see that I built specifically not that lineup. Like specifically, I can identify what's the most probable lineup. Your goal is not to play the most probable lineup. Your goal is to play the most profitable lineup in the long run. So if we were to play this slate 100 times, 200 times, like an entire baseball season, and I made my lineups like my Pittsburgh lineup, my Twins lineup, my Rays lineup, and we did it 200 times, and you played your Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Castillo, Gilbert lineup, by the end of that 200 times, I have more money than you. You win, you min cash more often. You win 4x your money more often. But out of 200 times, I come in the top 10 like 4 or 5 times. Some maybe first. You come in, you come in 300th place a lot and get 3x, right? You get min cash, you come in 1400th or whatever the hell, way more often than I do. But I come in first more often than you do. So at the end, I make more money. So it's not about being right today. Like I said before, I'm not looking to predict what's going to happen. I have no clue what's going to happen today. You really think that Peralta's going to do this? You really think? I don't think anything. I just look at the probabilities. Now it's a guesstimate, right? I got player projections. I don't got ownership projections. So I guesstimated the ownership. The Reds are going to be twice as owned as any other team on the slate, yet they're not twice as likely to score the most points on the slate than anyone else. I mean, even compared to Milwaukee, they're twice as owned as Milwaukee. If anything, play the Brewers. But the 5-man Cincinnati stack, especially with Farmer in there, is a cheap piece. Aquino, 2,700 down here. Suarez is under 4K. And then you could still play you could still play Castillo, Gilbert. You could still do that. Montes, Gilbert, something you could do something like that. So that's, to me, they're going to be overowned. They're the most likely, but they're not that likely. But if you told me the Reds were only going to be 10% owned this late, I'd be jamming them in like there's no tomorrow. So it's like, oh, I don't like this. So people will look at this and think, oh, Jordan doesn't like the Reds today. No, I love the Reds. The Reds have the highest likelihood of putting up the most points. I love the Reds today. Love them. Based on the projections, you can see. I love them. To do well. How often are they going to do well in comparison to what they're owned? That's all I care about. So if I believe that they have a 30% chance of putting up the most points, but they're going to be owned in half the lineups, then I would hate them. That would be the worst. You'd never play them. You'd X them all out. You wouldn't even play them as one-offs. You tell me that the Reds today on this 4-game slate are going to be 5% owned? I would have hit the lock button. I would have played if you told me if they're going to be 5% owned and I'm playing 20 lineups, they'd be in every one of my lineups, every single one. I play 5-man stacks, 3-man stacks, that one-offs. I mean, the Reds would just be everywhere because they'd be grossly under-owned. So that has nothing to do with whether or not I think they're going to do well today. I know about the probability of them doing well. What is the efficiency of the market, meaning the ownership? Are the Pirates going to be over-owned? No, they're going to be under-owned. Not by that much. They're still they're the team on the slate that has the least likelihood of putting up the most points. But if they're going to be owned on a 4-game slate at like 3%, they may be the top scoring team on the slate 5% of the time. Still the lowest. It's still the lowest, but it's not as low as what it's going to be owned. Especially if Peralta is going to be owned, and I get some extra relative value from that. So this is how I approach 4-game slates. I don't necessarily on larger slates. Then you could kind of just when you have ownership projections, you could go through and go, what types of lineups do I want to build? I could build this. I could build that. There's so many more choices. On a smaller slate, I go pretty much directly with what gives me the most leverage. What's the easiest way? So I don't have to think of do I play this guy or that guy? I'm just like, okay, who are the truck pitchers? I'm going to stack against 1, 2, 3. Done. Play 3 lineups, and hopefully one of them gets blown up. And there you go. And that's it. If one of them gets blown up, then you're going to have people tilting in chat, tilting in our Discord. You know, Castillo has a bad game, right? Castillo has been pitching well now recently. But it's not like we haven't seen Luis Castillo just throw a dud, give up 4 home runs in a game, walk 5 guys. Then 50% of the field has him at -8. And then I have the Minnesota stack that has 8 runs by the 4th inning. That is much lower owned because people have Castillo in their lineups. Does it happen that often? No, but it happens more often than they'll be owned. That's all that matters to me. You just play like that every day, and you're just playing the probabilities. And one of these days you hit first. You know, you do well. Which day is that going to be? Who knows? I don't. Wasn't yesterday for me, right? Colorado plus New York. I wasn't going to have that. Right? The 2 most likely teams to score the most points. They both got there. Well, I just don't win on those days. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Anything else in the YouTube chat before we get the hell out of here? When does the slate start? I gotta enter these lineups, right? I pretty much just played the top projected lineups, just from what I'm looking for. Looking to play with 3 leverage stacks, and then what's the best projection in there? There you go. That's all I did. Let's see what happens. So those are the lineups that I will be playing. Right? I didn't just do this as an exercise. These 3 lineups is what I'm putting in today. So I still have Reds. So don't say I don't like the Reds. Just not as a 5-man stack. Okie doke. So tomorrow's crunch time. Tomorrow, these Thursdays this month, we have early slates. So we have like 12:10 slates, 12:10 Eastern slates. So this show is technically preempted by a free MLB crunch time at 11:30 in the morning, but it's with me. So I'll be hosting. I believe Cardi's on tomorrow. Cardi or Cheese or someone. I have to look at the schedule. So we'll just be looking at the early slate. So you're getting a free crunch time show that's normally for premium members. So click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month of RG Premium for normal crunch time. But I mean, it's free. The early slate is free tomorrow. I'll still be here, just not at 11 o'clock in the morning. It'll be 11:30. You'll see the thumbnail. You'll see me on it. It'll say free crunch time or something or other on it. But that's for the next 3 Thursdays because we do have like early slates. There's small early slates. But similar to this, I mean, this was kind of an early slate, but not that much. And then go over it. So hopefully my leverage stacks work out. And we got an 11-game slate tonight. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And hopefully be on time for Casual Friday. So remember, programming note, tomorrow, 11:30 in the morning, free crunch time on YouTube, same place. I'll be there also. So it's not going to be the pregame show. It's going to be MLB crunch time. Then on Friday, I'll be back normal time, 11 o'clock a.m. I'm just saying that multiple times because no matter how many times I say it, I still get messages saying you're not doing a show today, right? And it's from people that listen and watch every day. So it's not like random people or whatever. So the person right now that's thinking, going, oh yeah, okay, there's no show tomorrow. It's 11:30 crunch time. By the time it's 11 o'clock in the morning, you're gonna message me, ask me why is there no show, right? So it doesn't matter how many times I say it. Okay, so tomorrow, 11:30 in the morning for free MLB crunch time. It'll be with me or Cheese or Cardi. Okay, this is the third or fourth time that I'm going to say it. Okay, right? So not at 11 in the morning, right? So 11:05 in the morning, DMing me, having 7 people DM me asking me if there's no show, right? Probably shouldn't happen, right? But it will. I'm going to tell you right now that 11:05, 11:10, I'm going to get about 7 to 10 messages asking me that why is there no show today? Even though I'm saying it now for the 5th time, that tomorrow, 11:30 in the morning Eastern, 11:30 in the morning Eastern. I don't know what day. If you're in Central, that's 10:30 your time. Whatever time you'd normally show up to see me, come a half an hour later. Actually, go to the RotoGrinders YouTube channel. You'll see that the pregame show thumbnail isn't even there. You'll see that there's a crunch time thumbnail. There's something else. My face is there. It'll be with Cheese or Cardi or whoever's on the schedule. I believe it's Cardi tomorrow. You'll see there, and then we'll be talking about the early slate. Okay, so no pregame show because you won't see a pregame show thumbnail, right? You won't see it there. So you have to know something's up, right? So you go to the RotoGrinders YouTube channel and you see, oh, there's a show at 11:30. It's free crunch time. It's kind of like the 5 times that he said it, the show that I listened to yesterday, right? So that's 11:30 in the morning, right? Not 11 o'clock in the morning. 11:30. It'll show on the thumbnail. Actually, on YouTube, it'll show. It'll say 11:30 a.m. So whatever your local time is, what time the show is, right? So you won't have to ask me. So like at 11:10, when you DM me and say, why is there no show at 11 o'clock? Now I'm giving, here's a resource on how to know what time the show is. It'll say it. It'll say on the YouTube channel, right? Especially when I already mentioned it. It's for the 6th time already for at the end of the show, okay? So I will see you when people? When will I see you? I will see you tomorrow at 11:30 Eastern for crunch time, not the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.